All right, good morning, boys and girls. It is Friday, which means this is the last reading I will do. I will not read over the weekend, and I will be back on Monday. Today we are going to read chapters 19 and 20. And we found out in chapters 17 and 18 that Pam is a McHale, and she also kind of told us that maybe her daddy wasn't so nice. And she is really able to communicate with Eddie, which is amazing. And we also found out that Mama got a job at the library. And also that the grocer, I can't remember his name. You guys are probably all yelling it right now. Brought the bike over for Alice. He brought the bike over because of her bike getting ruined in the... Oh, Mr. O'Brien. He brought the bike over because Alice had her little bike accident. So he brought over his daughters that she had outgrown. So that was really nice. This is, again, a pretty short couple chapters, like 13 pages. So we should have no problem getting through this. So I'm going to get started. Chapter 19. The heat of the end of June made me, honest to goodness, miss the heat of the beginning of June. When I walked outside, it was like wandering smack into a baker's oven that got cranked up a degree or two with each slam of the door. Even with Grandma's 2 box fans, it wasn't much more comfortable inside. Every night after I prayed for that blasted heat to let up some, I prayed that Daddy would come or send word he was coming the next day. Figured I had to have my bases covered then. But every morning it just got hotter, and the messages from Daddy never came. I started to worry that maybe God was as deaf as Eddie. But on the 1st of July, I woke up early feeling extra hot and sticky since Mama got up before me to get ready for work and took the fan with her. I was too hot and sticky to get dressed, so I just walked downstairs in my PJs to find Mama sitting at the kitchen table reading a letter. Mama saw me and tucked the letter under her book. Oh, good morning, you're up early. I yawned and sat next to her. Couldn't sleep. It's so hot here. Oh, I'm sorry I took the fan. You can have it back if you want to go back to bed for a while. Mama's eyes darted to the book that was covering the letter. I nodded toward the book. Who's the letter from? Mama pulled it out from under the book, and I glanced at the envelope, hoping it was signed SWAK, S-W-A-K, which we remember from earlier chapters. Stands for sealed with a kiss. It wasn't, but I recognized Daddy's handwriting, and a wave of happiness blew over me, which felt better than 1,000 fans. Then I saw Mama wipe her eyes. I hoped with every ounce of hopefulness I had inside that those were tears of joy because the letter said he missed us, something fierce, and wanted us to come back to Ohio. But from the sour look on her face, I sort of knew that wasn't the case. I reached for the letter, but Mama pulled her hand and the letter back. There's a lot of boring details in here, but and she cleared her throat and tried to sound happy. But he said he's going to try to visit Rainbow. When? When is Daddy coming? I yelled as I threw my arms around Mama. Now, Alice Ann, she said, you have to remember Daddy sometimes makes promises. When? When did you say he was coming? When did he say he was coming? I took a deep breath. She took a deep breath before she answered. The 4th of July. He said he'd be here on the 4th of July. Maybe I should have asked her then and there why the answer to my prayers would make her even a little sad, but I couldn't bring myself to think anything but happy thoughts. My daddy was coming in 3 days. 3 days! Independence Day would be a perfect day for him to come and break us all free from Rainbow. Is my clock wrong? Or are you early? Miss Millie stood at her back door, dressed in her usual shirt and jeans, but with her hair not in its usual braid. Her silver hair hung in long strands, making her look younger, even with all those wrinkles. I walked on in, noticing Clarence didn't even bark to announce my arrival. Sorry I'm so early, but I could not wait to tell you. Daddy's coming home. Daddy's coming here in 3 days on the 4th of July. Is that so? Miss Millie said. Well, I'll be. Yep. He wrote Mama and told her that very thing. He's going to come here and remembers he loves us and never want to be without us anymore. Said all that in a letter, huh? Well, not exactly. I don't rightly know what he all said in the letter. Mama was kind of tearful and emotional about it. But he's coming, and I know it's going to be okay after that. I thought of all the treasures I'd collected and tucked away in Mama's box of letters. Treasures I would be giving to Daddy in just 3 days. Miss Millie nodded as she ran her fingers through her hair like a comb. How's your little brother feel about it all? Is he excited your daddy's coming? Not really, I admitted. Eddie feels things different, so when I told him at breakfast that Daddy was coming, he just looked at me like I told him I was eating a dang egg for breakfast. Miss Millie was now braiding her hair while looking straight at me. Do you think he doesn't want your daddy to come and fetch y'all? I don't know. When I asked him if he misses Daddy, he said the darndest thing. He just said, not really. Can you believe that? But before Miss Millie could say anything, Eddie was standing at the door holding his plate. Well, wonders never cease. Look who's here. Miss Millie waved hello to him. And he turned to me. I walk with you today, remember? In my excitement to tell Miss Millie about Daddy, I'd forgot I promised Eddie he could walk with us today. He liked the excuse to drive his plate further than Grandma's yard. Sorry, I signed, rubbing my fist over my heart. Right, he signed back. And while he can't make his voice show sarcasm, he does a really good job of showing it on his face. So the three of us, well, the four of us, started our walk. Then Miss Millie asked, how's your Grammy doing lately? Hard to say, I told Miss Millie. It changes every day. Last week, she had 3 good days in a row, and then it was like a switch got turned off in her head, and she just forgets everything. Like yesterday, she insisted on making her usual 4th of July cookies with red, white, and blue icing that she makes every year, even though Mama told her it was too early to bake them. She made them anyhow, and she must have mixed up the sugar and the salt because they looked something awful and tasted even worse. Miss Millie shook her head. That's a dang shame. Dang shame, I agreed. I heard a car coming from behind us, slowing down. The man driving hollered, well, hello, Mrs. Miller. Good to see you feeling better. Miss Millie cleared her throat to answer, morning, Dr. Watkins. You know I'm too ornery to stay down for that long. The doctor smiled a real nice smile at Miss Millie. Eddie was now waving, but not to the driver. He was waving to the passenger, a girl with brown hair and pigtails. She was smiling at Eddie and waving back. Then she looked over at me, looking at her, and we waved to each other. Well, you two try to keep my patient here from getting into trouble, the doctor said. Heaven knows I can't. And with that, he grinned and drove off. When they left, my brother signed who? I signed back, Miss Millie's doctor. Eddie nodded, but then stopped to ask another question. I translated for him. Eddie wants to know if you're sick. Instead of telling me what to sign to Eddie, Miss Millie looked right at him and shook her head. Then she pretended she had a cane and could barely walk. Just old, she answered in an exaggerated way. Eddie laughed so hard he dropped his plate. Miss Millie looked pleased. She was able to talk to Eddie all by herself. Bless his heart, she grinned. But after she took a few more steps and coughed, I asked, are you sure you're not sick? Miss Millie smiled at me. Like I told Eddie, I'm just old, Alice girl. And truth be told, when you're 92, you know you can't be long for this world. I knew Miss Millie was old, and I knew she coughed all the time, but hearing her say that made my heart hurt. She looked over at me. Now, don't you be scrunching up your pretty face on my account. Whatever happens to me, I'll be ready. Don't you fret none. Now, tell me more about your daddy coming here. She knew that would make me change the subject, and it did. That is the end of chapter 19. Chapter 20. I woke up earlier than even Mama on the 4th of July. Truth be told, I don't think I slept much at all. Daddy was coming. It had been so long since I even talked to him, which was why I wasn't sure I remembered his voice. About a month before we moved, he called and asked me about school. But he was asking about my teacher from back in 3rd grade. Whenever I asked Mama if I could call him, she'd say he was traveling and she didn't have a number for him. We'd spent the day before cleaning, even though Grandma's house wasn't that big. It took all day to dust and sweep and scrub. And even though Grandma's house is really old, I sat there that morning smiling, thinking it looked pretty good, and I hoped Daddy would smile when he saw the house and us. After rereading all of his letter poems about being happy here, I was sure Daddy couldn't really hate Rainbow. Maybe I didn't hate it as much either. All that mattered, though, was that he remembered how much he loved us so that we'd be together again wherever we lived. I got dressed in my blue shorts and my red shirt, and as soon as Mama got up, I had her put my hair in braids with red, white, and blue ribbons. And when I saw myself in the bathroom mirror, I wondered if I was still the spittin' image of Daddy. I couldn't wait to find out. As it got closer and closer to the time of the parade, I couldn't help stop smiling. My face felt funny with all the happiness holding it together. Sitting on the porch, I was planning on how the day would go. First, we'd go to the parade, then we'd walk back to Grandma's house where we'd have our picnic, and Mama was inside already getting those things started, and the smells coming from the house made my tummy rumble. After our picnic, I'd have Daddy go into the backyard with me, just the two of us, and that's when I'd show him the letter poems I found and the treasures I collected for him. And what would happen next, I couldn't quite imagine, but I knew it would end with more hugs and smiles. Pam came over for a little before the parade started. Where is he? Where's your daddy? He's not here yet, I admitted, looking down the street, hoping to see a car that might be his. Well, he'd better hurry. The parade starts in a few minutes. Pam saw Eddie inside and opened the door to go on in. I made sure she heard me when I yelled, "Don't worry, he'll make it." But he didn't. When Mama, Eddie, and Pam were ready to leave, I told Mama I'd stay and wait for Daddy. But she wasn't hearing it. "No," she told me. "You need to come with us. We won't be far, just right up the street. He'll know where we are if he gets here before it's over." So even though I wasn't with Daddy, I agreed to go to the parade. Of course, calling it a parade might have been a bit of an exaggeration. There was one police car starting things off, followed by a group of adults wearing ribbons across their chests like titles, Mayor and Grand Marshal. After them came what I guessed was the high school marching band, and then there was a bunch of bicycles decorated with red, white, and blue streamers. One boy put playing cards on his bike spokes, trying to make as much noise as the drum beat had before. Finally, there was a fire truck that said Centerville on the side with some firemen standing on it waving to the crowd. Turns out Rainbow's so small they had to borrow a fire truck from somewhere else for a parade. I guess they'd have to borrow it for a fire too. As we watched the parade, I felt the sweat dripping down my back. Everyone always said you get used to this heat after a while, but if that's true, I want to know how long a while is. I guess the heat is the only thing a Rainbow doesn't do small. When I was feeling like a sticky pile of clothes being held up by a sweaty mound of flesh, I glanced at Mama and wondered if we were even related. How could she look so fresh as a daisy pretty on a sweltering day like today? Lately, I have been noticing she looked extra nice. I wasn't the only person noticing. That dang Mr. O'Brien came over to watch the parade with us, which did not make me happy at all. What if Daddy came back right then and thought the wrong thing? And the way Mama was giggling at everything the grocer said that wasn't even funny, I could see that Daddy might be right in thinking the wrong thing. As soon as the parade was over, I ran ahead of everyone to get back to Grandma's house. I stopped running when I saw there was an extra car in the driveway. I peeked in the screen door just to make sure he wasn't inside. Oh, there wasn't. I apologize. I stopped running when I saw there wasn't an extra car in the driveway. I peeked in the screen door just to make sure he wasn't inside. Maybe took the train by the house, but the house was quiet. By the time everyone else got back from the parade, I was sitting in the shade of the front porch swing waiting. Mama looked at me with sad eyes that made me think she was missing Daddy too. I guess not sleeping much the night before, combined with the rocking motion, started to make my eyes flutter shut, and before I knew it, I plumb fell asleep in that rocking chair. The next thing I knew, there was a tap on my shoulder. Maybe I was dreaming about Daddy because I just knew I'd seen him tapping me when I opened my eyes. But it was just Eddie. The disappointment tumbled from my heart to my stomach, and I had to blink a couple of times to focus on what he was signing. Daddy on the phone. Well, that made no sense. Why was he on the phone when he was on his way here? I raced in to hear Mama arguing with him. I can't believe you're doing this again. No, you tell her. And Mama handed the phone to me. Daddy, where are you? Hey, baby girl. How's my beautiful baby girl? Where are you, Daddy? You already missed the parade. It wasn't much, but you missed it. When are you coming? The silence on the other end made my heart sink. Daddy, I'm here. Where? Where are you? In Columbus? No, I'm not in Columbus anymore. And my heart filled with hope. Well, Daddy, when you get here, I have a surprise for you. I think you're really going to like it. Are you almost here? And he cleared his throat and he said, baby girl, I am in Las Vegas. I knew that was west of here, far west of here. And I also knew it meant Daddy wasn't coming. Words kept pouring out of the receiver, tumbling straight to the floor, but it was like they were in another language. I didn't hear some words like great city. I did hear some words like great city, job opportunity, call you soon. They rattled around my brain, but nothing made sense, and my attention began to fade when I heard an odd but familiar coughing in the background of the phone. I hung up on Daddy. I've never done that before. Hung up on the same Daddy I'd been waiting to talk to for so long. Mama saw and didn't tell me anything like it's rude to hang up without saying goodbye. She just tried to hug me, but I shook loose of her and started walking, one foot in front of the other, until I found myself at the shed. I picked up the old shoebox of letters with the heart and Mama and Daddy's names scribbled inside it. I opened it and saw the letters with the rock from the wishing well, the school flag, the oak leaf, the old picture of the two of them at their prom that Grandma had, and everything else I collected. And right then, I did the only thing I could think of. I threw the box back in the shed, not even stopping to worrying about everything inside scattering all over the floor. After that, I put one foot in front of the other once again until I found myself at Miss Millie's. And that is the end of chapter 20. So today I think we're just going to kind of think about Alice and all of the emotions that she's going through. You know, she was hopeful that her daddy was going to show up. She's noticing that Mama's kind of looking extra pretty lately and laughing at everything Mr. O'Brien says. She took all this time to collect these very precious memories for Daddy, and then he didn't show up. And it sounds kind of like it is a habit for him to not show up when he promises things. Kind of like what Mama was telling her, like sometimes he promises things, Alice. And I just want you to reflect on probably what she's feeling. And I think that's all for today. Okay, I hope that you guys have a really awesome weekend. And I will see you again on Monday with the next 2 chapters. We will finish this book by next Friday. And then we'll start another one. Okay, have a really wonderful day. It is going to be warmer today than the last couple days. So enjoy yourself and know that I miss you guys. Take care.